In the first half of 2025, Nissan is out here to prove that you don't need to spend over 50 grand to receive a great vehicle. One that provides the practicality, creature comforts, and overall refinement that would typically be found at around $55,000, if not more. In our last video, we checked out the 2025 Nissan Murano SV, which for $40,000 you are receiving quite a bit there. Not too bad for a base trim in 2025. However, if you have lavish tastes and also you demand just a bit more out of your next vehicle for you and your family, the SL might be the better choice. Now, for $6,000 more, is it truly worth it? Well, in today's video, we're going to find out. Now, before we get in this video, I want to give a huge shout and thank you to Nissan of Merrimack Valley here in Chelmsford, Massachusetts for letting you come down here to check out the Nissan Murano SL. Their link will be in the description below, so you can check out their extensive Nissan inventory. So as always, let's begin with pricing. For 2025 with the Nissan Murano SL, you're looking at a starting cost of just over $46,500. But right off the bat, there is one key difference here, and that is all-wheel drive does come standard. With the SV, you have to spend an additional $1,000 to receive that all-wheel drive system. So right then and there, you're going to like what the SL is providing for year-round capability and versatility. Now, from the outside, though, there really isn't much of a difference because you are still going to have 20-inch wheels. They're in a slightly different design. It is two-tone with some gloss black elements, but outside of that, though, there really isn't too much that's noteworthy that you could compare and contrast to that SV. It's mostly for the interior, but we might as well go over the exterior once again if you are new to this model and you're interested in what the SL is providing. So up front, you are going to receive LED headlights and LED daytime running lights. Now, as you can probably tell from the outside, it does kind of look like the Nissan Ariya, at least for the top portion of the front fascia, but even the body lines as well. Now, this is a bit trendy where the daytime running lights are in a separate housing compared to the main headlights, and also that turn signal indicator is going to be with those daytime running lights. Kind of futuristic there. You are going to receive a gloss black front grille here, which blends in very well with our model today with that exterior paint color. And on other colors, you're going to notice that gloss black strip that runs into the LED headlights. Now, this vehicle does look rather sporty since you don't have a lot of cladding here. So what you're going to notice is that for the lower portion of the front bumper and rear bumper, you have that cladding, but for the side profile, it's all full paint finish there. So with this vehicle, it's going to be built for on-road use rather than taking on different elements, although you're still going to have 8.3 inches of ground clearance to take on winter road conditions. Taking a look at the side profile, you are going to receive those 20-inch wheels. Now, there really isn't too much of a difference in regards to ride quality when you are comparing the SV to the SL. It's all going to come down to exterior appearance because the two-tone look on the SL makes it look a bit more luxurious, a bit more upscale, whereas the full gloss black wheels makes it look somewhat sporty. Now, with the SL, this is one minor difference compared to the SV. You are going to receive turn signal indicators for those side mirror caps. Now, is that a make or break deal? Absolutely not, but it just adds a bit more substance to the overall appearance for this vehicle. Also, you are going to have blind spot detection for added safety. Then as you make your way around to the back, you're going to notice the full LED light bar there for the rear fascia, and just the rounded off design for this model in general makes it look sporty and engaging right off the bat. Also, for the lower portion of the rear bumper, you're going to notice the contrasting accents with the plastic cladding and the exhaust outlets to tuck beneath the bumper for that cleaner appearance. Typically, I'm not a big fan of that, but I have a feeling that at some point in the future, Nissan is going to give us a hybrid model for the Murano. It just looks like an EV or hybrid from the exterior design and just the aesthetics of this overall look here. It kind of looks like that Ariya, but just a bit larger. Then for the sloping roofline, you have the nice design element there where it slopes into the rear fascia, and you're going to notice the chrome accents as well for that nice classy touch. And while we're taking a look at the rear fascia, might as well check out the cargo area once again for this model. So with the SL, you are going to receive a power liftgate, and inside behind the second row seat, you're looking at right around 33 cubic feet of room, so identical to that SV. The only difference here, and we'll talk about this when we check out the interior, is that with the SL, you are going to have a panoramic moonroof, and that will take away from some headroom, but that's not going to be too much of a drastic difference compared to that SV. Now, there is plenty of room back here to store a lot of items, a lot of luggage. So if you are going on frequent road trips with the family, you can easily store 9, 10, possibly 11 bags of luggage, if not more back here. On both sides of the rear cargo area, you are going to notice some smaller compartments for some items such as a couple water bottles, car detail equipment, or maybe even a first aid kit. Just like we saw with the SV, you're going to notice the quick release levers to conveniently lower the second row seats. And when those second row seats are down, you have right around 63 cubic feet of room, which falls right in line with many vehicles of this size that have that sportier and lower roof line. So if you're someone who's concerned about that, you want the practicality, but also you're looking for a vehicle that's a bit more premium than your Nissan Rogue, you're going to find that here with the Murano. Also, and we see this across all three trims for 2025, the spare tire is optional. So if you encounter a flat on those road trips or travels, you can fix that and be back on the road. Before hopping inside the SL, let's go over this key fob very quickly. I didn't do this in the SV review. Apologies if you watched that video. Obviously, for an SUV at around $45,000, you are going to have keyless entry here, your alarm activation, your power liftgate, but more importantly, that remote start. And it is standard on the SV as well. So on those cold mornings when you're ready to go to work and you just don't want to hop inside a freezing interior, you don't have to worry about that with the Murano. Checking out the interior for the SL, let's just dive right into those features that makes the SL worth it at $6,000 more, and why this might be the trim to go with if you're buying a Murano for 2025. So let's first start off with what you've probably noticed already. We had the panoramic moonroof, which brings in a lot of natural light to the interior. Now, yes, it does take away from some headroom, but I don't think taller passengers will be hitting their head on the headliner with this panoramic moonroof. From there, you are going to have a heated leather wrapped steering wheel, which is a huge addition here because we're about to get into some very cold weather up here in New England, so it's a must-have feature if you do live in colder climates. You have a driver's side memory seat, which again is great if you have more than one driver in the family. Now, the rest of these features do center around the infotainment system, which I do think is really great additions here, because for one, you are going to have the 10-speaker Bose audio system, which will amplify the audio of your favorite music, but also Google built-in software, providing Google Assistant and Amazon Alexa. And what we're seeing here with these Android and Google-based softwares now for the head units of vehicles is that they're now more upscale and refined, and the resolution and quality matches what you would have found in a luxury vehicle at around $50,000 to $55,000. So now let's transition to these seats. We have power adjustable and heated leatherette seats for both the driver and passenger. They're identical to what you're going to find with the SV, but I'm going to say the exact same thing. These seats are really comfortable, they are plush, and supportive. The backs of these seats are probably the best aspect, where you're not going to be dealing with any back pain. I think this is going to be a vehicle that feels somewhat luxurious and premium for a price point just over $45,000. I personally think you are going to be impressed. Now, if you do have higher demands here, you're going to have to go with the Platinum at around $50,000 to get quilted leather upholstery that also provides massaging functionality and ventilation. So if you're looking for that, go all out at 50 grand, but if you don't need any of those creature comforts or amenities, I think the SL is providing more than enough here. In transitioning to the technology, there's actually one huge difference here between the SV and SL that maybe a lot of people are not going to be talking about right now. You can control your infotainment system from the steering wheel. So at the bottom on the right side of the steering wheel, you're going to notice two icons here. One controls your digital gauge cluster, the other controls your infotainment system. So you don't have to reach for that screen, you can just use the buttons on the steering wheel to help you navigate through different menus. I love to see that, and you don't typically find that in this market. In fact, I can't think of another manufacturer that allows you to do this outside of maybe Mercedes-Benz, but they are not a direct competitor at this price point. So that's actually really cool to see. Another thing to point out here is that your digital gauge cluster is slightly different. So you're going to notice that the graphics are a bit more higher quality. But on top of that, by scrolling through all this information, you're going to notice that you have your chip computer, then also your tire pressure monitoring system, but it's also from here where your Google Maps will be displayed. So you're going to have onboard navigation. You don't have to look at the infotainment system. And this is really cool stuff. I mean, I know that a lot of mainstream manufacturers are starting to do this now, but for a Nissan, this is really cool stuff here. And as I've talked about before with the SV, it does share some components with the Infiniti QX50 and QX55, but you don't get this functionality out of those two vehicles. So this is actually really cool stuff here. Also from here, you can scroll through your audio, then your safety systems, such as your blind spot detection, forward collision warning, lane centering. You can scroll through all this at your own time and at your own discretion. Also, you do have a settings tab here where you can scroll through a lot more information and customize certain settings here that are going to be personalized to you. Then taking a look at the infotainment system, as we saw with the SV, you are going to receive wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatibility. We also have a wireless phone charging pad and then of course a 10-speaker Bose audio system. But from there, we also have the Google integration here, so you can display the Google Maps on the home screen. What I'm also noticing, just like with the digital gauge cluster, the resolution and quality and graphics are a bit more in depth. Now on the left side of the screen, you are going to have quick access icons to get you to different menus efficiently, such as your home screen, navigation, radio, Bluetooth, and also your Google Assistant. You are going to notice all your widgets here. There's going to be a layout similar to what you're going to find with a Ford, BMW, or other manufacturers that are using Google built-in software. It's just laid out a bit differently here. Now, unlike the SV, and I'm going to say this is probably what really makes going with the SL totally worth it at $6,000 more. You're going to have a plethora of camera angles to choose from. So you have a rear backup camera with trajectory, but then a top view camera, front-facing camera with trajectory, side view, so that way you're not scraping those 20-inch wheels. But more importantly, you have a 3D view. That is right. For a vehicle under $50,000 in the Nissan product line, you're going to have tons of visibility surrounding your Murano. So when you are parking on city streets or in a tight garage, you're going to have the same technology that would typically be found in a BMW, Audi, or Mercedes-Benz. I think this is huge. This is great to see for a model in this market, because I do think this is a bit cutting edge for the mainstream segment. So if you're someone who's into technology, you want that safety, you want that peace of mind when you are parking on tight streets or in those garages, you're going to find that here with the Nissan Murano. Now, as we make our way towards the center console, let's once again gloss over this little button layout here for your dual zone climate control, AC, front and rear defrosters, and fan speed. Again, they're haptic feedback buttons, so you might want to just use the infotainment system itself to adjust your climate control settings. Beneath that, you are going to find your wireless phone charging pad with 2 USB-C inputs. Also for the center console itself, we no longer have a gear selector here, so instead you have push buttons for park, reverse, neutral, and drive, also of course manual. And also, as we saw with the SV, you do have a drive mode selector for standard, eco, and sport. So if you're someone who wants to get a bit more frisky behind the wheel, go as sport, or you can just be a bit more laid back and stay in standard. And then next to that will be the button that helps you adjust the brightness of the screen, much like we saw with the SV, but this actually gives you a dedicated menu for that. Next to that, you will find 2 cup holders, and just like we saw with the SV, gloss black trim here. I know a lot of you are going to complain because it's difficult to clean and maintain, but it gives the interior a bit more of a upscale appearance. Also, like I noted with the SV, soft touch padding on this outboard side of the center console, giving you some extra padding there. Love to see that. One thing I didn't point out though is that on the dashboard and the door panels, you're going to notice this contrasting accent here. It's more of like a brushed aluminum look. For the SV, it's more of a plastic material, whereas for the SL, it's nice and smooth and kind of looks like carbon fiber from far away, but it's not, so don't take that out of context. But it gives you a nice modern appearance for the interior. For the center storage compartment, there is plenty of room for smaller items, including smaller tech gadgets, water bottles, and then obviously wallets or smartphones. And beneath the bridge for the center console, you will find another storage compartment for maybe a small bag or two. So a lot of practicality here for the Murano. And quickly taking a look at the second row, there's really nothing different here, aside from the fact you had that panoramic moonroof, which again marginally decreases the amount of headroom for the second row. But you know, taller passengers should not have any issues when it comes to possibly hitting their head on the headliner. In regards to creature comforts and amenities for the second row, no differences at all. You don't have heated outboard seats. You don't have climate control for the second row either. So you have 2 center-mounted air vents, 2 USB-C inputs, and then, of course, a center armrest with 2 cup holders. Now, with the Murano, you can definitely squeeze in a third person in the center because you don't have an aggressive center hump. So this vehicle is a 5-passenger vehicle overall. And with this seat adjusted most of the way back and also somewhat on a recline, I have plenty of legroom. So even at 36 or 37 inches of legroom, you're not going to feel cramped or claustrophobic in this model at all. And because Nissan did widen this vehicle by about 3 inches, you have plenty of shoulder room. as well. And lastly, for the 2025 Nissan Murano SL, you are going to receive a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, producing 241 horsepower and 260 pound-feet of torque. It is paired with a 9-speed automatic transmission, and unlike the SV, all-wheel drive does come standard for better year-round capability and versatility. The SL might actually be the pick in the lineup, even though with the Platinum you are receiving more creature comforts, such as heated, ventilated, and massaging leather trimmed seats for both the driver and passenger. You're getting a vehicle that feels much more upscale, maybe feels a bit more like an Infiniti than a Nissan. But with the SL though, this is a great value. This is totally worth $6,000 more than an SV, mostly because you have the heated leather wrap steering wheel, the pano moonroof, and the memory driver's seat. So you're getting some amenities here that you're not going to find on that base trim. But better yet, within this segment at around $46,000, you're cross-shopping this vehicle with a Chevrolet Blazer, maybe Honda Passport, possibly a Mazda CX-70. And really the fit and finish for this generation I think is really nice right now for 2025. Now, the last generation was archaic, even 3 years ago when I featured it, where it just felt like an old school SUV. Where for 2025, this feels very much in line with all of its close competitors. But I think what Nissan has done really well here for this generation is the technology. The full digital gauge cluster, nice infotainment system, Google built-in software. This is very competitive with what you have with Honda, Toyota, Mazda, and maybe even Subaru if you are looking at a top trim Outback. But also at around $47,000, you could theoretically cross-shop this with some luxury brands from Lexus, from Acura, from Infiniti, and I think this would be a better value overall. Now, one thing I do like here with this model is that it does feel rather peppy with the Turbo 4. Now, it's not going to be the fastest vehicle out there. It doesn't exhibit dynamic handling quality, so this isn't a sports crossover. But it is somewhat of an upscale vehicle under 50 grand that makes a great case for itself. You know, a lot of vehicles in this market are either rugged or sporty. They don't fall under the category of being luxurious. This would be very competitive to a Mazda CX-70. And if Nissan ever decided to drop in a hybrid powertrain, this would be a direct competitor to a Toyota Crown Signia. And in fact, when you look at the design language, even the exterior dimensions, this would be very competitive with that Crown Signia. We just are missing that hybrid powertrain. But for me though, for a Nissan product, this feels really high quality. It feels refined. What they've done to the suspension and platform, it gives you a lot of the qualities that you're going to find out of some luxury vehicles just above $45,000. The suspension is tuned very nicely. It is somewhat soft, so you are going to notice some body roll in the corners. It is somewhat top heavy for a vehicle in this segment, but that is to be expected with 8.3 inches of ground clearance. However, as a daily driver, as a family hauler, I think Nissan's done a great job where it is a nice upgrade over the Nissan Rogue. I mean, you immediately notice the differences here for interior quality, but also performance as well, since you don't have that CVT. Now, in the corners, you are going to notice that the steering is somewhat light, but very direct. It's not going to have the same weighted feel you're going to notice from some Hondas and some Mazdas out there, but this is very typical for a Japanese manufacturer. But I really do like what Nissan has done here with the engineering behind this model. It doesn't feel anything like the prior generation, and that is a good thing for sure. But now with technology really driving this market and drawing in buyers who are looking for intuitive infotainment systems or digital gauge clusters, Nissan is now delivering on that, and they didn't do that before. It also comes back to the ride quality too, where even with the 20-inch wheels, you go over the bumps and imperfections rather well. I mean, this is not going to be a super luxurious vehicle, so you are going to still notice some of those bumps, but it handles them pretty well. The suspension is tuned pretty well to take on some New England roads like I'm on right now. Also, with the interior insulation, it's really not too bad. I mean, I was expecting with the 20-inch wheels to experience a lot more road noise, maybe even some harshness when you are on these hardly paved roads, and you're really not experiencing any of that. I will say though that when you are just cruising around in the city and suburbs, and even when you are in sport mode with this vehicle, there is some lagging a bit with a 9-speed automatic transmission, but comparing this to the CVT that we had last generation and the CVT in the Rogue, you're still going to notice that this vehicle feels somewhat dynamic compared to that smaller Rogue and the last generation Murano. It's also worth noting here that with the Murano, this is really solely a mid-tier luxury vehicle. So it's not going to be sporty, spry, athletic. It's also not going to be rugged. As you can tell from the exterior, the full paint finish kind of tells the story here for what this vehicle is all about. It's comfortable, it is suitable for someone looking for a more premium experience, and on top of that, it's practical as well. So it's a great choice right now if you are looking to upgrade from a compact crossover and you don't quite have the budget for a luxury SUV over 50 grand. This is a nice sweet spot for Nissan, and also what Nissan is doing here with their interior layouts, with the technology, even with their styling. This is a huge leap forward compared to where we were just a few years ago. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this quick review for the 2025 Nissan Murano SL. If you did, please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more, and I will see you guys next time.